On the docket tonight, the case of Marcus Wilson, accused of murdering a 17-year-old girl. Julie Janae has the story.
And I just want him home. I just want him home. He doesn't deserve to be in there.
21-year-old William Marcus Wilson has been in a Georgia jail since mid-June. He faces charges of felony murder and aggravated assault for the shooting death of a teenager, Haley Hutcheson. His family doesn't deny that he pulled the trigger, but his sister, Chelsea Burnett, says there's more the system should consider.
Mark is a gentle giant. He is a big old teddy bear. He's willing to cut his own just so someone else could have an opportunity. That is who he is. That's who we've been raised to be, and that's who he truly is. He doesn't have a hateful bone in his body.
She says her brother feared for his life when he opened fire on a truck of white teens the morning of June 14th. The car's driver was allegedly trying to run Wilson's car off the road, while others yelled racist slurs, according to his sister.
He had a right to stand his ground. He felt like his life was threatened, and I 100% believe that.
Detective Travis Cruin said Wilson's girlfriend was in the car with him at the time.
Wilson got his gun to show them, "You don't do that," is what she stated. And she saw him shoot at the ground. She told him, "Don't do that."
Cruin said the fatal bullet from Wilson's gun went through the back window of the truck where Hutcheson was seated. The detective also said a beer can from the truck was found on the ground near shell casings.
Police later found a beer can on the roadway.
Yes.
And that beer can matched the beers that they were drinking.
Same type. Nobody can state that they saw anybody throw anything out the window.
According to the detective, the teen said they were drinking the night of the encounter, but no breathalyzers were administered. The truck's driver, Mason Glisson, testified he did not hear any trash talking from his passengers directed at Wilson.
Did you at any time swerve into the other lane? Is there any reason that did you have any anger?
One of the other passengers, Luke Conley, was later charged with a misdemeanor for obstruction. Police say he changed his story after initially telling officers he stayed inside the truck before the shooting. He later admitted he interacted with Wilson through an open window. Here's how Conley responded to questions from the defense.
She yelled racial slurs out of the window to the car that was beside the truck. Mr. Conley, did you throw anything at the Ford Fusion?
It's a case drawing attention to the small town of Statesboro, Georgia, and bringing scrutiny from civil rights groups over who stand your ground laws protect.
If he were white and his skin showed that he was fully white, he would not have ever been put in handcuffs. At the moment he said he was standing his ground, it would have been, we're going to do further investigation, and it would have never been where it is now.
According to his family, the shouting of racial slurs began after he left this Taco Bell drive-thru with his girlfriend, who is white.
When you have a car full of young white men in South Georgia calling your girlfriend an N-word lover and trying to literally run you off the road and is hanging out of the car shooting all kinds of words and explicatives, you can't really tell what's next.
In a police press conference captured by WSAV, Haley's family begged the public for information.
Our state, our counties need this message right here more than anything. There can be mercy, there can be forgiveness, but justice, it has to be served.
I want to show you some photos that we have, some evidence photos of what was found inside the truck where Haley was shot and killed. Here's the actual truck. And apparently there's some photos that show alcohol and some empty coolers inside the truck. So the question is, what is the defense going to have to establish here during the course of this trial to demonstrate that this was a justified homicide, self-defense? We've been talking a lot about self-defense recently here on Court TV. Let's bring back in our think tank, Lance LaRusso. You practice in Georgia. Yelling racial slurs is the allegation. Throwing a can of beer. Attempting to swerve and run them off the road. How does the defense get from where they are now to establishing self-defense here?
Well, the first thing we have to remember in Georgia, you have the stand your ground law also came with an opportunity for an immunity hearing. So all of these issues that are being brought up by the defense will be heard at a separate hearing if they move for it prior to a jury trial. So there'll be an opportunity to sort this out. But the issue of self-defense is, did the person using force act as a reasonable person? And the justification burden is always on that person who pulls the trigger. So when he left the scene, there's two questions I have here, but when he left the scene, did he go to a position of safety and call 911, or did he just leave? Well, we know it's the latter. He didn't turn himself in until 3 days later. Second, we heard that there was a bullet hole in a back window. So one of the questions that's going to come up here is, what was the trajectory of the bullet such that there would be a reasonable argument that he was using deadly force to protect himself? And if he's using deadly force at the vehicle to stop the vehicle, that's going to become an issue as to the relative position of the car to him at the time he shot. So his own actions, I think, are what's causing a concern for this being a stand your ground or justifiable shooting.
I'm going to have to agree with Lance on that. I think this is a really, as you know, stand your ground cases are very fact intensive. And I think just the yelling of slurs and, possibly, trying to run him off the road, I don't think that's enough for him to be able to claim stand your ground. And, I've been involved in a high profile stand your ground case. And these cases are difficult, but this one, I really don't think the defense has what it needs to prevail on this one, just based off of what I've heard. Now, if maybe there were possibly bullet holes in that particular car or, side swiping of the vehicle, even that would be a stretch. I think he'd have a better argument, but I think this is a really tough case for the defense.
I don't know. I'm actually going to have to really disagree with that one. I mean, if he is perceiving that there is a grave bodily threat, that he could suffer death even by them trying to run him off the road, I think that alone could actually do that for the defense in this case. Now, obviously, there's, conflicts in the testimony between the different witnesses here, but if the defense can show that they were actually trying to run him off the road, he has no duty to retreat whatsoever, and I think that they could actually successfully win that immunity motion hearing.
Yeah, the question is really going to come up to, and Georgia law uses this all over the use of deadly force and the defense statutes, reasonable belief. And that's why the immunity statute, the immunity hearing is going to be key. But if this comes down to a jury trial, a jury is going to have to decide whether whatever belief he had was reasonable at the time under those circumstances.
Teresa, what do you...
Honestly, I think that...
I want to throw something at Teresa real quick about the one passenger in that vehicle who's taking the fifth. Your thoughts about that and what that means to the prosecution's case and to the defense case?
I mean, I think it means that he didn't want to answer the question, but he knew the answer to those questions were going to be hurtful to him, obviously. But obviously, once you plead the fifth, I mean, there's really nothing more you can do with that. But I'm going to have to go back. I think, even the running off of the road, I mean, you can speed up. I mean, again, these are fact-intensive cases. Like, you can get out of, if you see they're trying to run you off the road, you can speed up further down the road or to try to get away and go to a place of safety. So I really think that, I don't know, it's a weak case for the defense. I'm not saying it's all the way, weak, but I think it is pretty weak based on what we have.
All right, that bell keeps going off. We're out of time. Let me take a look at what's happening with this case. And right now, Georgia versus William Marcus Wilson. No trial date has been set. There's some litigating that needs to take place. There are some issues involving motions and the judge. So we'll keep our eye on it for you folks and let you know what happened.